Ladies and gentlemen, it is lightning round, and if you could not see Andrew Cooper while that video was playing, the dude was drumming out like Neil Peart from Yes.
I hit every single note, and Neil Peart's from Rush, rest in
Or
peace. All
Rush,
right,
I'm sorry,
hit every
my
note,
bad.
hi hats, low hats, foot pedals, dude. All of them. Boom, let's go. It's lightning round, baby.
Thank God for you to fact check me on my rock drummers. I mean, I don't know what I would do without both of you, without Andrew Cooper, without Britt Flinn. It is Better Sports Network. It is Fantasy Alarm. It is lightning round. How we doing, gang?
Speaking of rocking out, Britt, you had a little festival this week, huh? How was that?
Yeah, it was really awesome. I'm glad to be back home. It's the post festival shower was incredible. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Um, but yeah, it was real fun. I
Have you
just
guys have you guys at the stage where you're doing like VIP and stuff? Are you still in like the tents? Where are you guys at with that?
I mean, yeah, we do VIP. So we have like side stage access and all that. But yeah, still tent camping in the car. We set up an air mattress in the back of the car, so when it got too hot, we could just turn on that AC and actually get some sleep. But yeah, it
Yeah.
was just very
So
dirty.
What's it like
borderline
to sleep? Jeez, I
borderline
don't know what that feels
glamping
like.
a bit there, it sounds.
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit.
I think you deserve it at this stage. My days of sleeping in a tent in Bonnaroo and waking up when it turns into a literal microwave in the morning are over.
Oh yeah, and the sun comes up right about the time that everybody's coming back from the late night set, so you don't really get a lot of overlap there to catch some Z's.
Oh yeah, very little, almost none, in fact.
Yep.
All right, we started, Kev. Are we up and running, baby?
We're up and running at the 106. I'll just to add on, I can safely say I've never slept in a tent in my life. I am a kid of suburbia. So AC life is what I'm used to, and we'll stick with that. So
Not even like
I'll live
in a
vicariously through
backyard.
both of you with tent
Yeah.
life.
You have done no tenting, like not in the backyard, not anything.
No, nope.
Oh, you got to sleep
I've
in a
stayed
tent
in
at
a
least
cabin.
once.
That's about it. That's the best I can say.
Was
I'm
there
going to bring the
electricity?
tent and set it up at the Airbnb at the expo, just so Kevin
Kev
can say he
has
can
to.
sleep in a tent.
Just give me one of those MREs and a tent, and I'm good.
Was there electricity in the cabin or no?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Then that doesn't count, dude. Okay. So we're doing a best ball 4 draft. $3 million on the line. We're picking at 6th. If you want to do these drafts, use promo code Fantasy Alarm on Underdog. They'll match you up to $100, 100% of whatever you put in. You put in 20, they match 20. You put in 100, they'll match you at 100. It's important to do that, not only to get into these contests, but so that you can draft with us over on the Fantasy Alarm Discord. We're doing drafts with family members, not these big tournaments. Family members where, $5 drafts, winner gets $50. We figure out what ADP is. It's a good time. So make sure you're signed up for Underdog. Make sure you're in the Fantasy Alarm Discord. This week's is going to be on Thursday at 7 o'clock. Joey Wright from Football Guide is going to join us. Now we're on the clock. Who we taking, Kev?
Kelsey or Bijan? How
I'm
feeling?
dying for Bijan, but
We
that's
did
Kelsey.
We already did the Kelsey one. We've done a Kelsey one. Let's do Bijan.
Let's do it. I mean, he's going to be up here. He's going to be up in this range anyway. So 104 to 1. We had a wide receiver heavy start here, top 4. Christian McCaffrey going at 105. You don't typically see that, but it's a wide receiver room. We must adjust.
I will say this: there was a time where running backs, oftentimes, like there was a time where running backs on every team just got all the touches, and the best ones came from the really good teams. So it was almost a situation where it was like you had to draft the good running backs on the good teams first, and then you went to the running backs that got all the work on the other teams, and then you moved down to kind of the part-time backs like the James White type guys. Nowadays, going back probably 5-6 years, you can have good fantasy football running backs on bad teams because there are so few guys that get all 3 down work. James Robinson, perfect example. It started with like the David Johnson, even Saquon Barkley period, where like those teams, Saquon was the first back to be on a team that finished in the bottom half of the league in scoring and still be the even just a top 3 RB, I believe, but the RB1. So like that was like the first time that happened. And then David Johnson followed up with a very similar type season. So it is possible. Like that's what you're hoping for with Bijan, right?
And you can take it a step further, especially with Atlanta. Even if something does happen to his split where he isn't the bell cow back, Atlanta runs the ball so much that he's still going to see more touches, even in a split situation, than a lot of other bell cow backs might see. So you can take it a little bit further if you think about it that way as well.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
for those listening, this draft has started pretty chalky. Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, CMC at 5. We took Bijan at 6. Travis Kelce went next. Then you get into AJ Brown, Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, Garrett Wilson, maybe a little bit earlier than you see Garrett Wilson in general. That's probably the one pick here that's not like by the book. But Garrett Wilson at 11, Austin Eckler at 12, Amon-Ra St. Brown at 13, Jonathan Taylor at 14. That's all well within the range of where these guys go. I don't know. Are you guys Garrett Wilson at 11? Are you doing that at all?
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
doing that over Devontae Adams, certainly. I don't think Devontae Adams should be a first round pick this year. So as far as that first round, I like where those guys, and I'm fine with Garrett Wilson just to be able to, I mean, maybe not from like a uniqueness standpoint, I guess, just based on value, I suppose, because he is going to get that bump with Aaron Rodgers, but you really can't get a unique start with Garrett Wilson unless you take him in like the top. And if you take him in the middle of the first round or he falls, you're never going to get really a unique start with Garrett Wilson with all those guys kind of lumped in there. But I'm fine with Devontae Adams going at the, what's that, 10 or 204? Yeah, I'm fine with that.
We're on the clock here. What are the best options?
Let me switch over. So we're looking at the Waddle, Olave, Smith. Totally fine with all three of those. Waddle, I think, is
I love him.
smash
Waddle.
here.
Yep.
Yep.
Smash.
Smash.
Smush smash that. Britt, what's your take on this whole situation that's coming out now about Jimmy Garoppolo? The word is that our boy Jim Galapagos, he was supposed to have his press conference and it was delayed, and everyone was like, whatever, no big deal. Turns out it was delayed because he had some sort of medical issue that was not cleared at the time. They actually went back, rewrote the contract to take out a lot of the guarantees, actually making it possible for him to be released this summer. Britt, do you think that was more? This all happened before the draft. So do you think this is more of like a, we'll release him if we get a better quarterback in the draft? Or is there honestly something where training camp comes around and they say, hey, man, like you can't play quarterback for us. So smell you later. Like where do you think it falls on that range?
I think the guaranteed money was a little bit of a safeguard, or removing that guaranteed money in case they didn't get somebody like Anthony Richardson or, somebody high on their radar that they really wanted. I think that they'll probably still go forward with Jimmy G, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he'll stay as the starter. We've seen in consecutive years how he's gone out and had some pretty severe injuries. And unless they can maybe trade for somebody again, I mean, it's just a disaster in Vegas right now.
Right.
I think there were even rumors, if I remember correctly, this weekend, it has kind of been a blur, of Tom Brady getting ownership in the Raiders. And then people are like, oh, he could come out of retirement and be the first ever owner quarterback
Jackie Lou,
for
baby.
a team. Like, it just seems so ridiculous that that's even a rumor right now that I don't feel settled with that quarterback situation.
I hear they're putting some sort of rule in there where Brady cannot do that because we don't want to see him pull the Jaromir Jagr. Do you remember with Jagr when he did? So Jagr bought a team and he played for the team. Then he retired, and then at one point a bunch of guys got sick, and at 50 years old he suited up for his own team in the Czech Republic. Jagr is just such a legend, man. We could do Jagr stories all
the
show.
Mullet. The
That's
most famous mullet and might be in professional sports, honestly.
So we take Josh Allen here if he's there. I think I would be cool with that if you guys are.
If he fell to the third, as juiced as his ADP has been,
almost
dude. I'm
we're doing
totally
it.
cool.
We're trying to, again, with these, it depends what kind of a player you are. If you're just going to do one, which I think these are 20 or $25. Are they 20?
25.
$25. Dude, some people you only do one. Like there's a lot of years where I don't do like 100 of them, So if you're just going to do one, then you got to get your guys, and maybe you don't take a QB here if you're somebody who doesn't draft QB. We're doing enough of these, I think, that I would like to have an early QB team. So Josh Allen here. Feeling pretty good about it. Yeah.
Take it. Smash.
And the best part about Allen is that we can backstack it. There's so many options later in the draft. And, if you want to even take the tight ends, like aside from Diggs, you can pretty much get everybody aside from Gabe Davis in the 10th round or 9th, 10th round or later.
And I personally was correctly fading Gabe Davis last year because I'm amazing at this, but this year I'm willing to take Gabe Davis at the right ADP. Like, obviously, we're not going to reach for him, but there's a whole group of guys in there where, you need to come up with tiebreakers, right? And in this case, if we're looking at Gabe Davis and a bunch of very similar players, of course I'm willing to take Gabe Davis because we have Josh Allen, and we know that there's correlation to stacks, right? If you reach, more than a round later on and early on, maybe even more than a couple picks, then it hurts that stack. It erases most of the statistical benefit. But later on, if it's, when we're just kind of throwing darts, I'll absolutely be willing to stack in those situations. So,
yeah.
Well, let me ask you guys this to kind of take this a step further. Do you think that the Bills have a legitimate chance of getting DeAndre Hopkins? Because apparently they're in an arms race with the Chiefs. Is that something that y'all are willing to take a risk on in the event that he doesn't go to Buffalo?
Well, I'm going to pass this one to Kev while saying this. When you look at and I know that the cap is a myth, there's things you can do, but when you look at the numbers, it's really up to DeAndre Hopkins because the Bills are down there in terms of cap space. They would need to move people, and they need Hopkins to play ball. So, Kev, do you think Hopkins at this stage is that kind of guy? We've seen him hold out from the Texans for more money, force a trade to the Cardinals, and then the Cardinals, people forget when people talk about that trade, Hopkins for a second, robbery. They forget that Hopkins wasn't going to play football unless he was getting paid major money. The Cardinals traded for the rights to make Hopkins the highest paid wide receiver in the league before he even played. So at that time, in that situation, there were only like 6-7 teams that could even do that. So, the second round pick return at the end of the day, maybe not the end of the world. But Kev, do you see Hopkins as that type of guy willing to work with the Bills, or is he going to look around and say, hey, there's similar teams with more money?
I'm petty because he blocked me on Twitter, so it's tough to even talk about DeAndre Hopkins. But
what got you blocked? What'd you say?
I drafted him in a dynasty league like 4 years ago, and I tagged him in it, being a Twitter noob, and that's what happened. But,
yeah. Well, whatever. You didn't do anything wrong.
No, I know. It's whatever. Let's make this pick here before I'll go in on DeAndre Hopkins here. So, the best part about our start with Bijan Robinson, Jalen Waddle, Josh Allen, we have 2 second-round picks. So that's unique in itself right there. So I think we're already ahead of the 8 ball.
Taking that value.
Do you want to take DeAndre Hopkins?
That's kind of where I was going with it right here. I think either way, he's going to have value wherever he lands. And then if we get that backdoor stack as just kind of a bonus, then
his ADP is going to go up if he lands with the Bills or Chiefs. He's going to go up a round.
Let's do it, dude.
I'm down.
Yeah. I think he's good. He's good.
Talk about closing line value from guys that when we take them now, guys that can rise throughout the summer. And so when you're looking at teams, you're competing with other teams, especially in a tournament like this, this is where you get the edge over other teams.
I love how because we drafted a running back and a QB, Kev just minimizes every other column except wide receiver. Like he just takes it completely off. I couldn't even have told you who else is available. So way to go, Kev. It's going to be a lot of mac and cheese from here on out, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of hangover, mornings here.
Look how much blue is up there. Like, I'm surprised. Typically, you get that second round, a lot of running backs because now the modern drafts, a lot of wide receivers. So kind of an atypical start here. Even in the third round, that's a lot of. Usually, only 12 RBs go in the first 3 rounds. What did we get here?
And then
first 3 rounds, yeah, we're looking at 1, 2,
13. 3. So not that much different.
But you still had like people like Najee, who is in one of those few bell cow back situations, going all the way at the end of the third, which is just kind of crazy to me because they did boost that offensive line. He's still going to have basically little to no competition for touches. It's crazy to me that he's being devalued this much in this tournament setting.
Right. Well, so I want to get back to DeAndre Hopkins. So, yeah, I think at this stage you kind of got to weigh your options there because you don't have much football life left. So I think even knowing that you're not going to be like the 1A, with Stephon Diggs there. The offense is going to work through you, but not going to solely be toward you. The Bills had the 4th highest concentration of targets to the wide receiver position last year, so there's going to be plenty of targets to go around. Clearly, we saw Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, kind of that pretty steep second option there. So adding a second option like DeAndre Hopkins potentially, as Britt said, it's an arms race in the AFC with the Bills, the Chiefs, the Bengals. You can throw the Chargers in there. Jaguars are coming up. So I think it's very interesting if DeAndre Hopkins is willing to cede some of that money to go play with an obvious contender. And we got him in the 4th round. And if he signs with the Bills, he's going to be a 3rd rounder.
Yeah, easily, dude. Now, dude, Scamper's in the chat. What's up, Scamp? He said, Yager's mullet only rivaled by Agassi. I don't remember Andre Agassi having a mullet, but now that I pull it up, man, this thing had a mind of its own, huh?
All right, we're back up here. So let me take a look. I'll go through all the positions. DJ Moore, I don't think is a great value here. I'm fine with Kirk. I'm willing to extend the olive branch to Miles Sanders if you want to.
Yeah,
I love Miles Sanders. That's my boy, dude. Like we've done this. We've talked about this a million times. I've got a couple articles up on it if you want to see the full stats. But the short and sweet is that the team he was on, the quarterback, top 2 in carries inside the 5-yard line, right? Only behind Jamal Williams. So now I'm not talking about among quarterbacks, among all players. Top 2 in carries inside the 5, and the team was dead last in targets to the running back. And if you look at the years with Carson Wentz, Miles Sanders is on 60, 70 target paces. Like we know based on research by Andrew Erickson of PFF that the mobile quarterbacks do target the running backs less. If you look at the team, if you just take total targets to running backs by teams last year, the bottom 3 teams were the Eagles, the Ravens, and the Bears. What do those 3 teams have in common, folks?
The Stone Age, run pass.
Mobile quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields. So, yeah, you want to, if you're playing in full PPR, this is half PPR. But even in half PPR, in every format, targets are more valuable than carries. So you want to potentially steer away from the running backs that, especially a guy like Rashad Penny that doesn't catch passes anyway, steer away from those guys if possible. Now, Miles Sanders, he'll probably have a lower yards per carry because, worse line, worse offense, doesn't have the RPO working to his favor, but I think the receptions and potential goal line carries are well worth it.
You want to know how I know this is a good draft? Because Jordan Addison went and Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to go in like the middle of this round.
Jordan Addison, ahead of JSN?
Jordan Addison went 51 overall, beginning of the 5th.
We got some
People
sharp
have been paying attention
in here. I don't recognize any usernames. Do you
Kismet, I do. I think he's been in a couple of drafts.
Wait. Kismet 420? Where's he?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, he's a Fantasy Alarm member.
Right, exactly.
That sneaky devil. What is he, just hanging out, clicking the button?
Kismet, he's hovering.
I'm going to go check the Discord, see if he said anything.
But while you do that, for the audio listeners, we will always service the audio listeners here on the Bettor Sports Network app. Bijan Robinson, Jalen Waddle, Josh Allen, DeAndre Hopkins, and Miles Sanders are our picks through 5 rounds. We are in the middle of the 6th round. We are 4 picks away from our next selection. We have 2 wide receivers. I think it would behoove us to get in out ahead of the wide receiver dead zone here and grab a couple more. I do like Marquise Brown. I do like Tyler Lockett. I like Lockett over Brown, but I think Brown just got selected. Hopefully we can Evans or Lockett, I would say, would be the pick there. I'm not super enthused with Evans. You could talk me into like a guy like Deontay Johnson as well, but I think Lockett's the pick if he's there.
I really like Lockett as well. I don't think that anything on his role is really going to change much, if at all. And in the 6th round, he's consistently provided value year after year. So,
boom.
I'm about him.
I wonder if Kismet even knows he's in the same draft as us. Yeah.
Right.
He 100% has to. That's funny.
I love that.
All right. So who did we just take?
What's that?
Who did we just take?
We just took Lockett.
Oh, hell yeah. The thing about Lockett, man, is that like his ADP, it's probably come down as far as it's going to go, right? Or what do you think?
I think it's settled in the 6th round. I just think, I mean, with the whole JSN stuff, I think that brings it down a little bit. I do think that with Metcalf and Lockett's ADPs are too far apart. I think they realistically, Lockett would probably be a middle of 5th round pick, and Metcalf might be like at the end of the 3rd, as far as my like personal value. I don't know. I mean, I guess JSN maybe had something to do with it. Maybe people don't quite believe in Geno Smith doing what he did last year. It's the 2nd year in a row. I just think Lockett's just universally slept on.
I think for me, I was waiting to take more Lockett because I knew he was going to slide following the draft with the drafting of JSN. I think the reason that DK stays where he is that JSN is not going to all of a sudden become the split end. So DK Metcalf is not going to become the guy that plays a 60, 70% snap share. One of these guys, just by the nature of, there's no team that plays 90% of their snaps out of 3 wide receiver sets. Even the highest level teams don't. So one of these guys is going to have a 70% snap share at best. You can still be successful with that, but you're not going to have crazy high upside. With another team that had the same situation, the Buccaneers, it was Mike Evans, Deshaun Jackson, and then Godwin was the guy coming in. It wasn't Evans that missed the snaps. Eventually, it was Deshaun Jackson, and then Godwin took over. I think that's what people see for Lockett. But in those early years, it took Godwin 2 years. So I think Lockett this year is still set to have that full-time snap share, and JSN will have the partial snap share. He's a rookie. That's what happens. So I'm still on board with Lockett. But there is a slight more risk because if the snaps are going to be taken from somebody, they're going to come from Tyler Lockett, right?
Right.
And he's 31 years old, too.
We're back up.
Do we want to backstack with Gabe Davis?
Is he?
I'd almost rather have guys later to stack that with. I think if Hopkins goes there, I like Dotson. How about you?
Yeah, he's such a machine, right? He clearly has a penchant for the end zone. Hopefully, I just worry about, like, I love Dotson in Dynasty. And I think buy him now and also keep an eye on him if you can't get him now, because if Sam Howell and Jacoby Brissett are not good, and there's a good chance of that, then you might be able to buy cheap during the season. I just wonder if this team even has the quarterback of the future on it, right? Or a quarterback that's even reasonable. They're getting bought by a new ownership. That ownership's probably going to want to revamp a lot of things. So I just feel like these are placeholder QBs, and this new ownership team with their inaugural draft next year is going to try and make something happen.
I can totally see them tanking and trying to get Caleb Williams in the draft. I mean, he's going to be insane. And Sam Howell was fine, but you could definitely see a drop off from year to year at North Carolina. And I don't see how they're sold on him being their starter when he played in one game and threw 19 passes last year. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So that's why I'm weary a little bit about Dotson. But in these kind of mid to later rounds, you're taking talent over situation because it is best ball, because they can have blow up weeks and you don't have to have them be good every single week. So I think it makes sense to take Dotson here, but
especially because a touchdown cracks your lineup in this, right?
Yep.
So if you go through and look at the over under win totals, it's like the Cardinals now, they already were the worst at 4.5, but I mean, now that Hopkins has been released, like, it's pretty clear they're tanking. So 4.5 is going to be the lowest. I think the Texans are 5.5 on a lot of books, 6.5 on others. And then there's a handful of teams at 6.5, which that's where the Commanders live. Washington, the Buccaneers are 6.5. The Colts are 6.5. The Rams are 6.5. I mean, a lot of teams that are expected to be pretty bad. So, to me, the guy that affects most is a guy like Brian Robinson, who doesn't really catch passes, and running and also scoring touchdowns is the luxury of the good teams, right? Like, you can't just run the clock out unless you're the Jaguars with James Robinson trying to get that first pick by any means necessary, and you don't care how the game ends. You just want it to be over. So you just give it to James Robinson over and over and over. Maybe that's what they do with Brian Robinson, but they just have they have better pass catching backs. I can't see a world where he's going to be amazing,
No.
Well, gang, we can take Gabe Davis now.
I can know what Michael Thomas. No, we can take Gabe Davis if you want.
I mean, we got him a full round after ADP. I'd say that's written in the stars.
True.
It's fair.
We manifested, made it happen. It's all that
still got
festival
John
manifesting
Dotson.
happening.
We got Dotson and Gabe Davis. So, obviously we just won. So how are we going to spend the money?
Do you think we got Gabe Davis, Britt, based on the music festival love and friendship that you brought back with you?
We put it into the universe. I manifested all these good things to happen. Manifested Josh Allen to fall a whole round for us. Little did we know at that festival that was what I was manifesting. But we're going to say that it happened.
Manifest destiny.
What festival are you going to this weekend before next week's draft?
Well, this weekend is the Arkansas Baseball Regional for my birthday. So I'm going to try to go spend 3 days in a different kind of field, a baseball field this weekend.
There you go. I like that, dude. That's cool. Awesome. All right. Let's maybe recap for some audio listeners. Kev, do you want me to do it or you got it?
I got this. Yeah. So for the audio listeners, of course, we will always serve the audio listeners. Our first round pick, Bijan Robinson. Second round, Jalen Waddle. Josh Allen slips to the third round where we scoop him up. DeAndre Hopkins, future Buffalo Bill, with our next pick. Miles Sanders, an Andrew Cooper original. Tyler Lockett, John Dotson, and Gabe Davis, a former Kevin Tompkins original.
Oh, Michael Thomas went. Probably saving us from ourselves, but I know true life. I'm addicted to drafting Michael Thomas. If he's healthy, right? Which right now we haven't really seen him run routes. Which I've seen him with a toe injury. People talk about like him doing deadlifts and posting that. Like you're kind of the whole good form is to be on your heels. You can do stuff like that, which is a lot different than recovering from a toe injury and doing dynamic movement on your toe. That's why he can do that stuff right now. We still have to see what he looks like. I'd like to see that. But if he comes out and looks like Michael Thomas, he's going to be moving up this board. I'm telling you guys, people can't resist. It's only a matter of time. And last year he looked good in a couple games. Not amazing, but he didn't play for a whole season and he came out, was on pace for a 90 reception pace, which is what DK Metcalf had, was top 10, and he scored 3 touchdowns in those games. So why can't he be good? That's my question. Why can't he be a good player?
How you guys feel about the Joker?
Yeah, I like it. I think he could easily be a top 2 target on that team. I just know that like Chig never goes. His ADP is 130. I don't know when he goes at or beyond that. Every draft that I'm in, I guess maybe because I'm drafting him a lot, but I don't have as much Chig as I thought I would. Other people seem to like him.
Coop is single-handedly inflating his ADP
Are we
with all the Chig talk.
Are we doing the tight end double tap right now? Dalton Kincaid already went. So that would have been like our other stack. We already have.
I would have rather had Dawson Knox later, to be honest. Just on price.
Yeah, he will still score touchdowns, but it's just like
the roommate narrative is still alive and well.
Yeah, Dawson. The thing with the Dawson Knox touchdowns, you go back and watch them. A lot of them aren't really him making plays, right? It's like it's out of his control. It's like Dalton Schultz to a certain degree was doing that too, where like it's these RPOs, it's play actions, it's Josh Allen running around for 10 minutes, and then Dawson Knox is just standing in the back of the end zone with no one covering him. Like he's not quite a guy that wins in man-to-man. He doesn't have a ton of contested catches, but the nature of that RPO offense means whoever they choose to score that touchdown can have it, And that line is so good at faking like it's a run play. It's insane. Every time I, as a Patriots fan, especially when they play the Patriots, I'm sitting there and I'm like, rewind that. Those linemen, they were 10 yards downfield. That's ineligible man downfield. And I go back and look, and they really aren't. They just pretend like they're doing it, which is it makes it impossible to stop that play. If you're a linebacker and you see a guard like pulling or like firing off the line, how are you supposed to know that's a pass? So that's just the benefit of having Josh Allen in that offense, honestly. Gabe Davis scores a lot of those too. If you go back and watch some of his, like the RPO in the goal line, somebody sneaks out, uncovered touchdowns.
Well, if he can do what he did against the Steelers last year in every single game, he'll be a first-round pick next year.
Yeah. Of the running backs on the right side there that just went, A.J. Dillon, Brian Robinson, Zach Charbonnet, and of course, A-Train. Who do you like best out of those guys?
I think I'd have to go with A-Chain. I just think that the speed and breakaway ability alone in that offense is going to lift him up ahead of any of these other guys. What about you, Kev?
I do like HA, and you'll never find a rookie I don't like unless it's like a 26-year-old rookie like Velus Jones. But I'm going to throw my head in for Dylan because I do think that the Packers run a lot more this year. I think how they used him last year was still a bit of a trickle down from Rodgers audibling at any point at the line. I think we're going to finally see the Matt LaFleur offense in full effect, how in his vision this year, and I think it's going to be a lot more of the Shanahan style running, with multiple backs. I'm kind of surprised the Packers didn't take take another running back in the draft. They do have Patrick Taylor still. They still have Kylan Hill as well, but I do think that Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon will still. I think AJ Dillon will be better, much better than a 9th round pick next year, just based on his usage this year. Hopefully the Packers do run the ball a lot more.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this, with the running, we always talk about like target share, right? We talk about Drake London. That's the big one. Everyone knows that Drake London had a monster target share, top 5 for wide receivers. And we say, oh, if they throw more, then he's going to have more points. Well, there's a running back narrative of that with this team where AJ
back
Dillon,
up, by the way, sorry.
Oh yeah, let's pick a player. And then
running back, Gibson.
Yeah.
I do like the passes that Gibson can absorb because he did play wide receiver in Memphis.
That's right.
Gibson is like the guy. I've been drafting a ton of him just because I think he's mispriced in the 10th round.
He just needs to figure out his pass blocking. Like the schemes are difficult. Some people can never figure it out, but like he has the size, and there's nothing physically stopping him from being a decent pass blocker. So hopefully he gets the scheme figured out this year and he can take over that role full time. I think JD McKissick, is he done? He had the neck injury.
He was released.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, he was released. Yeah. So, but what I was saying with AJ Dillon is like the Packers were towards the bottom of the league in run plays inside the 5. Rodgers was kind of just doing his own thing. They had 15 total. AJ Dillon had 10 of those. So Aaron Jones only had 2, and he didn't score a touchdown from inside the 5. Aaron Rodgers took 4 for a total of -1 rushing yards and 1 touchdown. AJ Dillon was getting the bulk of those. So if they can manage to have more of those, I know we're expecting the team to be worse with Jordan Love, but if they can have more of those, like AJ Dillon is the goal line back. That was clear from last season. So you're getting those touchdowns at least, right?
And if AJ Dillon's, as good as advertised, certainly in the Packers hive mind beat writer, whatever, if he's good, it's only going to help the offense. It's only going to help them score and be more efficient. So
they love him.
And as we've mentioned before, touchdowns get you in the lineup from week to week. So in best ball format, he's perfect for that.
Oh, Coop.
Is Chiggy there?
There he is, dude. This is
that manifestation.
This is the summer camp special. That's the name of this draft right here, dude. This is a $3 million draft, dude. I'm feeling it.
This is a nice. It took us a couple drafts to really get our stamp on this team. I feel like, just for guys that we're getting that we want versus having to react to everybody else taking guys. I mean, we're getting values, we're getting our guys.
We're getting the if you make a list of the best feelings you have in these drafts, it's especially with bulk drafters, we don't really want to take Josh Allen, but he fell far enough where we say, oh, great. We've had the number one feeling, actually, Linda just tweeted about it yesterday, which is where you're picking between 2 guys and you take one and then the other one comes back, right? We're getting all that. Chig, I would have been down to double tap Njoku and then Chig, and he fell an additional round.
And we got an Antonio Gibson out of the deal and then still got him.
Right.
And we were going to think about Gabe Davis. We passed on him for Dotson, and we still got him anyway.
It's crazy, dude. It's crazy.
Yep. Definitely liking the vibe of this team.
Let's
drafted on vibes tonight.
Let's monitor quarterback real quick just to see, because in these, when you take Josh Allen, the rules are, if you're trying to win this particular type of tournament, you take 2 or 3 quarterbacks, 2 or 3 tight ends. If you spend up on quarterback or tight end, you usually only take 2. Since we spent up, we only have 1. We want to avoid having a risky second quarterback where now we need a third. So I think it would be prudent for us to take somebody in that QB 20 or so range. Is Derek Carr still up there?
He is actually. Let me pull it over here. Yeah, we're in the Rodgers Wilson Carr territory here. Let me see. Week 13. So nobody in immediate danger there as far as bye week. So
it would be nice to get one of those three fellows, huh?
And Rodgers has fallen a ton in ADP.
Do we have any stack? Do we have any? Sorry, Britt. Do we have any stack opportunity with any of those guys?
The only thing that we have is correlation with Rodgers. Rodgers went. I was gonna say with Cleveland. Denver
17.
plays the Chargers. New Orleans plays Tampa, I believe.
Yeah, for
I'm trying to
those
think of that. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
For those that don't typically tune in on these, or might be your first one, or you're just looking for tips and tricks, what Kev is doing right now is digging into his encyclopedic memory already of Week 17 matchups, which I think you have all of them on lock. I know a handful of big ones that I like. All right, do you want to go Russ or Carr here, or roll the dice and see?
We can always. I'm trying to think of guys that we could backstack. It's a little more difficult with Carr. Difficult here. I'm fine. If you want to take one of those guys, Wilson or Carr.
Britt, make a call.
Let's go Wilson. Peyton Magic.
I mean, dude, it could. We look at Trevor Lawrence. Like, that's the exact discount you got from Trevor Lawrence. Urban Meyer, well, he was not a good coach. Like, I don't think there's any people at the NFL level for the Jaguars. There's not a lot of debate on that one. And then a Super Bowl winning coach, Doug Peterson, comes in, and all of a sudden Trevor Lawrence is good. Like, I've seen Russell Wilson be good with a good coach before, Pete Carroll. He was bad last year, and his first time with a bad coach, maybe he could be good. You know what I mean? It's like, if Russell Wilson can do some of the things that Drew Brees can do, then that could be a fun offense. He's got good weapons, right?
And he's still a lot more mobile than Brees is on his own as well. So that should contribute in and of itself. So we'll see. But I do like that Week 17 correlation with the Chargers. I think that the Broncos are going to have to throw a bunch more, especially with Javante's health in question, because we kind of saw it with Dobbins last year. Even though he came back decently early, then he ended up going on IR because he came back too early. So if that situation happens again with Javante, I can see a ton of passes all over the field. And Russell Wilson will be a huge beneficiary.
Britt, the bar for being more mobile than Drew Brees.
I know it's non-existent. It's non-existent.
Grandpa Joe hopping out of the bed to go to that chocolate factory was more mobile than Drew Brees.
Yeah, our flow chart is like Drew Brees, Grandpa Joe, Michelangelo's David, and Matt Shaw.
The Whomping Willow from Harry Potter might be more mobile than Drew Brees.
I'm surprised I didn't get a pop out of you from that show, but after those guys.
Oh, Laporta went. Yeah, but we're pretty good on let's get up
Yeah, so Laporta has gotten a ton.
We want to get to 5 RBs minimum, right? So how many wide receivers do we have?
We have 5. We should probably tack one on.
Well, let me see. At least put the RBs up there too. We could have stacked up Hunter Renfrow with Derek Carr.
We could play Bijan and the Dusty Bunch with Jamal Williams.
I like Devin Singletary. If we could do one more. No. Let's do.
I'm just starting it for now.
Okay. Let's do a wide receiver here then. Ew.
Mims
stack. Yep. Do that backdoor stack.
And just hope for that Cortland Sutton trade.
Sutton trade, or you know what? We don't talk a lot about rookies just forcing the issue and forcing teams to have to play them. That's certainly possible with, how not good Sutton was last year. Judy, I mean, none of these wide receivers are tied to Sean Payton besides Marvin Mims. So it's certainly possible that Mims can find a way. I know even nobody on this offense is really tied to Sean Payton outside of that traded Adam Troutman and Mims at this point.
He brought in a couple people. The problem for Mims, right, is that he brought in the players he brought in are guys that don't soak up targets, but they soak up snaps, right? So he brought in Troutman. He brought in Chris
Tomlinson, right?
He brought in Chris Manhertz too. And Chris Manhertz played for him briefly in New Orleans. And on top of that, he brought in fullback Michael Burton. And I'm looking at Michael Burton. I'm like, damn, he played for the Saints too. And when he played for the Saints, he was playing 25 to 30% of the snaps at times, right? That's what we're talking about with these no team has 3 wide receivers that play 70% of the snaps. If you bring in a fullback, you're not taking out the tight end. You're obviously not taking out the running back unless you're the 49ers, who sometimes just roll use check and shotgun, like, for some obscure reason. I honestly, we're not going to get into use check right now, dude. But like, when you bring that guy in, you're taking out a tight end, you're taking out a running back, or sorry, you're leaving the tight end, you're leaving the running back, and you're taking a wide receiver out. Who's coming out of the game? Marvin Mims might not even be a top 3 guy. So we have to hope that somebody gets hurt. I mean, or that he just forces the issue, like you said. Or June 1st is coming up. You can designate cut guys as June 1 designated players where their contract is split over 2 years, right? A few teams did that with players before, like JJ Watt, for instance, was designated as a post June 1 cut. So you can spread. You can't do that with trades. So there's a possibility that a couple days from now, when June 1 comes around, teams look to trade these guys. After June 1, if you trade them, their cap hit can be spread over the next 2 years. The perfect example of that is Julio Jones. Julio Jones was rumored to be traded the entire offseason, and it happened officially on June 6th, when his cap hit could be spread over 2 years. So keep an eye out for that this week. If there are guys going to be traded, it should be shortly after that deadline. So back to your regularly scheduled programming after a long diatribe about contract deep talk.
Love it.
Important, but maybe not the most entertaining talk.
I have been looking at the Underdog ADP over the last few days since let me pull this up here. So that was on Friday that Hopkins was released, correct?
Yes.
The Friday?
There's a
Rondale Moore has gone up a full round since then. Just kind of look, Marvin Mims has gone up quite a bit too. Tank Bigsby as well for the Jaguars. We got some news on ETN. So this is really like, you have to kind of separate the news from the noise, but I do think obviously Rondale Moore is certainly justified in jumping up there, but I'm still not sure about the whole ETN Tank Bigsby thing. And we can talk about that after we make our pick here.
After we picked Devin Singletary. After we picked Devin Singletary here.
Or
no.
You don't want to know the Jeff Wilson share? We have enough?
Dude, we have enough touchdown dependent guys. We have Antonio. Actually, no, we don't really have a lot of touchdown dependent guys. No more. Let's do Singletary. I truly believe that Devin Singletary.
Let's diversify our portfolio.
We might get Jeff Wilson anyway, dude. People aren't clamoring for Jeff Wilson.
I'm people.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I don't see why Brian Robinson would go ahead of Jeff Wilson, because they do virtually the same thing, except one team's going to score a lot of touchdowns and the other team's going to score not many touchdowns. There's Kismet, dude. There you go. There's a fantasy alarm member in the draft that takes Jeff Wilson. So shout out Kismet, dude.
And we don't talk enough about Jerome Ford. We don't talk about, obviously, Britt Flinn led the charge on that, the Jerome Ford steam on Underdog. We don't talk enough about that.
I'm in. So that I'm in for.
He's been huge. And if you look at his college numbers, 1,300 yards in that run-heavy offense of Cleveland, being the number 2 back, I don't see how you can't love him at that ADP. I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
I will list the top 6 or 7 guys that have gone up. And since May 26th on Underdog ADP, Rondale Moore, Marquise Brown, Jerome Ford, DeAndre Hopkins, Trey McBride. So there's 3 Cardinals and a former Cardinal right there. Tank Bigsby, and for some reason, Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Oh, because he caught that pass. He caught that pass in 7-on-7.
Yeah.
It's crazy how, like, the littlest things, like, obviously Jerome Ford got that Britt Flinn bump, the Britt Flinn smoke. Can you pull up wide receiver and tight end here? QB, we're done taking QBs, but let's just take a little peek at what tight ends are popping in this.
I have no interest. I think we're good on tight end. On what?
Maybe last pick.
I would. Luke Musgrave going 15th round. That's a guy you can get anytime.
Getting some juice.
Hey, we're on the clock.
Yeah. Ford, and we're done at running back.
I'd be I'd be cool with that, and definitely be done at running back.
Let's call it.
So, Britt, have you had any follow up on Josh Downs? What's going on with that?
I have not seen anything. The only thing that I saw in my limited service was that he was dealing with a knee injury and was not practicing. And I haven't seen anything else about it. But
Don't
we
like
just got
that.
back and got the phone charged. No, I don't like it at all because I really thought that Downs was going to be the guy even over Alec Pierce. I thought that he was locked into that wide receiver 2 role, especially with that relationship he'd been building with Anthony Richardson. And anytime there's a knee injury, you're like, well, what kind of knee injury is it? Is it like a sprain? Is it a tweak? Or is it like something severe that's going to nag you all season long? And so I'm waiting with bated breath just to find out a few more details, which we never get, by the way.
So last year with that team, there's 2 ways to do it with, well, I guess there's 3 ways to do it really, but there's the Chris Godwin, Cooper Kupp style slot wide receiver that ends up being the high upside guy. That's a guy where in 3 wide receiver sets, he plays slot, and then 2 wide receiver sets, he moves out to flanker. Those are the guys with the crazy upside. And that's what Paris Campbell was doing last year. That's why Michael Pittman was playing every snap, like quite literally every snap.
Yeah.
And Paris Campbell would line up in the slot for 3 wide with Alec Pierce. And then for 2 wide receiver sets, when they went 2 tight ends or a fullback, whatever, Alec Pierce would come out and Paris Campbell would go out wide. That's what you're hoping Josh Downs could pull off as a rookie. The other way that we see it is the way Tyler Boyd is used, where Jamar Chase is the flanker, T. Higgins is a split end. Those dudes are never coming out. So Tyler Boyd just comes into play slot, comes out of the game. Tyler Boyd played the highest percentage of slot snaps of any wide receiver that ran at least 500 routes. You have to drop it all the way down to like 300 routes, and now Hunter Renfrow is in that mix as a guy that just plays a ton of slot snaps. But like Tyler Boyd at like 85% was just a slot guy. So you kind of, those guys have capped upside. So that's the battle. Josh Downs versus Alec Pierce. We're going to see what happens.
Let me switch over here. We're up in a couple picks here. Probably should be digging into the wide receiver pool a little bit.
I'm definitely down to take stabs on
Giants.
on Houston Texans players. And it's because they have the staff from the 49ers. So the 49ers staff built this offense that uses a fullback, and that leads to 2 highly consolidated wide receivers. The Dolphins do the same thing. And what happens? They bring in Alec Ingold to play fullback. 2 wide receivers, man. Highly consolidated. So we don't know who it's going to be for sure. We got to take a guess. What do you think? The options are
I'm down with him or Dell. Either way.
No, I'm going with Mechie simply because Dell, I think he's going to get the Rondale Moore treatment. Let's take Mechie here. The problem with Rondale Moore is that he's so small that he doesn't run block well. So he's the guy that comes out. He's going to be every time, maybe forever. Tank Dell, even though his name is, I don't know why his nickname is Tank, because he's like 5'8", 165, So, but
it's like calling a poodle Spike.
Right. So exactly, yeah. The Texans, which is a hilarious move, by the way. The Texans bring over D'Amico Ryans to be the head coach, and they bring over Bobby Slowick to be the offensive coordinator, who also worked for the 49ers. He worked for Pro Football Focus. He's a big metrics guy. And what is the first thing they do? They sign fullback Andrew Beck to a deal with $4 million guaranteed. They are building that offense, which means 2 wide receivers are going to play a lot. I don't know if it's going to be Collins, Woods, Mechie, Tank, but I'm taking stabs on all those guys because there's a real chance that the targets get highly consolidated there at the top.
Yeah.
Boom shakalaka.
And when it's this late in the draft process, we've kind of got our guys who are going to fill in. We want those high upside guys. And why not take a stab on somebody who's got a chance to just completely dominate target share?
Now I will retract the no I blatantly screamed when you said Giants, because I do like taking Giants. That just wasn't the team I was talking about at that moment, Kev. But no, I do like taking Giants. I was like, no, but I actually do.
Like, how dare you? How dare you even bring that name up?
Yeah, no, I meant no. That's not the team I was going to wax poetic about. But I do like taking Giants just because there's uncertainty there, right? We want to, in this part of the draft, we want to lean into uncertainty. It's our friend here, right? So who do you like out of those Giants fellas that are left? John and Pemba and I,
Cheapest.
we cannot stop. Even now, we won't give up on Sterling Shepard, dude. I don't know
Really?
what it is.
I gave up like 2 years ago.
Dude, every time he plays, he gets like 13 targets and then gets hurt.
Yeah, and with consecutive injuries like an Achilles followed by an ACL, I just don't see that value there. I would rather
Sorry, I was gonna
take
say
a
I don't
guy
have a
like
lot of. Sorry, we're terrible.
no
at this.
Hodgins is who I was gonna say. So go ahead, take it.
Me too, because I don't have a lot of Hodgins. I have a lot of Slayton. I have enough Paris Campbell. Coopy go with Hodgins,
Fine.
who's probably going to be on the field a ton. Probably
Travis.
more than all the other slot guys.
Isaiah, Travis, Fulgham, Hodges.
Mac Hollins.
They really
adjacent,
like him over there.
Isaiah Hodgins.
I don't know, man. Something about these day 3 players. I'm just like, get them out of my sight. What about Michael Wilson? Do you think that with the DeAndre Hopkins move, he's a rookie, Kev? Britt?
I have a take on that. And I was tweeting with Hilo from 1 Week Season the other day about this. It would not shock me because right now where you're looking at a bunch of like midgets in the Arizona Cardinals receiving room. It would not shock me at all if Zach Pascal was playing split end for this team, and just soaking up empty targets, doing the Jalen Guyton all exercise team instead of a guy like Michael Wilson.
Yeah, I think they could easily do that. Yeah. So Gannon could run the 2 tight end sets. I don't know. Can we throw tight end in the mix just to see if there's anybody there where it's like, whoa?
It's a little gross.
I kind of like Gesicki, not gonna lie. When you talk about 2 target on their team, I believe that the number 1 target on the Patriots will be Juju Smith-Schuster. Who do you guys think will be second? Devontae Parker?
It's really up in the air. Yeah. And
Tyquan
I don't know,
Thornton?
does that breakfast narrative, best friend narrative still fit with Hunter Henry and Mac Jones after last year? Are they going to get back on track or is it going to be Gesicki? Did they bring him in there to receive and Henry to block?
Guess Gesicki's going to play wide receiver. I think both of those guys are going to be on the field a lot, but it puts Gesicki in the better position, in terms of productivity. If anyone's going to be asked to block, like Hunter Henry is going to play inline. There's no world where they put Gesicki in line and have Hunter Henry playing slot or out wide, right? So that's the situation there. I mean, I think last year the second target on the team was Ramondre Stevenson. So, it's interesting to me.
I also like Hayden Hurst because of Bryce Young's just propensity to throw touchdown looks to the tight end. Like Cam Latu set the record for the most touchdowns by a tight end in the NCAA ever. And so in this very last round, I think Hayden Hurst could have that kind of upside too.
Oh, this is the last round?
Yep.
I would rather take Gesicki.
I'll allow it.
They took him for a reason. Gesicki could have signed anywhere he wanted. I think that's the part of it for me is that he was, if you go back and look at and a lot of this is going off coach speak and off narrative and from the players' mouth themselves. But there are a couple clips of Gesicki. There's one where somebody goes to him and says, "Happy National Tight End Day," and he was more like "Happy National Big Slot Wide Receiver Day." Right. Then there's another one where after the game he's talking to Dawson Knox with a hot mic. Dawson Knox was mic'd up. Gesicki didn't know, and he goes up to him and he was like, "Hey, what's up, man? Good stuff out there." And Gesicki goes, "At least they're using you out there," right? To me, I'm like, geez, he only played a 45% snap share. Durham Smythe played 60%. So he could have gone anywhere he wanted. No, I mean, not anywhere. He's not we're not talking about DeAndre Hopkins here, but he isn't going to pick a team that isn't going to use him in a way that he'll be happy with. If the Patriots sign him after he complained last year and use him on 40% of the snaps, I would be shocked. And his agent should be fired out of a cannon into the sun. He should have been in the first place for not contesting the franchise tag. Because if he's playing 90% of his snaps at wide receiver and he doesn't contest that franchise tag, now no one can ever. And no tight end can ever contest that tag. So I don't know. Weird situation with Gesicki, but just the fact that they went out of their way to bring him in, I like it. Plus, for years now in press conferences, Alex Barth from the Sports Hub has compiled a list of times that Bill Belichick corrected a reporter when they said tight end Mike Gesicki, and Belichick said, well, he's actually a more of a wide receiver, right? It was like 8 or 9 instances. So that's my Gesicki take. Last round pick for sure. Definitely take him over like Deuce Vaughn. Who in their right mind is taking Deuce Vaughn?
Hey,
Charlie Jones could be the guy that replaces Tyler Boyd in that offense. Kind of like that a little bit.
Yeah. Sneaky, very, very last pick. Sorry, Britt, with the Cowboy slander. Well, I mean, come on now.
so much slander. After
Come
all
on.
the good manifestation I brought here.
Come on now. Would you have taken Deuce Vaughn with our last pick?
No.
Yeah.
No.
See?
No, we just took Mike Gesicki, who's going to run 35% of routes, and it is what it is. It's just it's a long-standing bit at this point with Mike Gesicki, I feel like.
I will tell you this with the Deuce Vaughn situation. It's kind of weird that like his dad is a scout within the Cowboys system, and they claim that he had no influence whatsoever on that pick. But isn't that kind of weird? Like with your coworkers, right? Like if you're hanging out with your coworkers and you're looking over and you're like, "Gonna pick my son here," or like
nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
He goes undrafted and he just show up for work the next day, and he was like, "Oh, you didn't, we had all these picks.
About that.
You didn't take my son," right? Like, there's still pressure in the atmosphere. I will, right? Like, there's got to be a little pressure in the atmosphere there.
Absolutely. Let's manifest our recap into this team here. So Bijan Robinson, we get at 106. Jalen Waddle, who, I mean, I can make the case for him over Devontae Adams, I think, but I think it's still very close. At 207, Josh Allen slips into the 3rd round, and we scoop it up the value. Just give it all here. We got this. DeAndre Hopkins, 4th round. Miles Sanders, Tyler Lockett, Jahan Dotson, Gabe Davis. So we got 5 wide receivers through 8 rounds with Miles Sanders, Bijan, and Josh Allen as our quarterback. Loving it. David Njoku, Antonio Gibson, Chigakonkwo. The olive branch has been extended. Russell Wilson, Marvin Mims stacked together. Devin Singletary, Jerome Ford, John Mechie, Isaiah Hodgins, Mike Gesicki. Loving this team. Coop, tell everybody where, if they want to draft with us, tell them where they can do it.
Use promo code COOP, COOP. Then you can become a Fantasy Alarm member at 50% off for the next 6 months. Join the Discord. That you can discard all your other leagues and join the Discord and draft with us in these. Use promo code Fantasy Alarm on Underdog. Hit that like button and subscribe to this YouTube channel, and you can hang out with us for these. We got to go, though.